Today I'm going to talk to you about how you can change the world. Changing the world sounds really difficult, doesn't it? But in actuality, it's simple, and it all starts with you. The only way to change the world is by being passionate. And the only way you can be passionate is by knowing and accepting who you are. We are all uniquely genius, and our uniqueness is what makes us powerful. The process that I'll be talking about today is a process that I have learned through experience. And I'll be sharing those experiences and changing the world with you to prove that anyone can do it. Because if I can do it, you can do it. So let's get into changing the world. The first step is to accept yourself for who you are in the present. Changing the world begins with you. Figure out what makes you different from everyone around you. Maybe you're an amazing athlete or a great painter. Whatever it is, learn to love it and latch on to why you love it. Embrace your uniqueness and celebrate it. You can't live in the past and dwell on who you were, who you could have been, or where you put your energies. And of course, look to the future, but don't ignore the reality of your skills, your capacity, or your abilities. Unfortunately, this is the first step where people stop changing the world. They're crippled by the past, or they're caught up in the vision of the future. They latch on to that one thing and they pigeonhole themselves into doing that one thing. But you can't. You constantly have to search for new things that stimulate you the way that one unique thing does. Which leads me to my next step, to never stop exploring. From a very young age, I did make that fatal mistake of pigeonholing myself into one thing. I was a very competitive synchronized swimmer from the age of 5. In the last couple years of my career, I was swimming 30 to 40 hours a week, training for the Coleman Cup, the world's largest international competition for people my age. And I was pushing myself to the point of blacking out, of injury, and to the point where me and my duet partner would sit in the showers and cry during our 5-minute breaks. But I wanted it. I wanted to represent the US, and I got there. And I achieved great things in the sport, but it began to affect my schoolwork. And I could see that it was going to affect the rest of my life more and more. So I had to make a decision. And I decided that I could no longer continue in the sport. And it absolutely devastated me. I had lost the thing that made me me, and the thing that made me unique. So I had to reinvent myself, and it took me trying new things, things that made me uncomfortable and things that I had no idea about. But I did it, and I have found love for and passion in many other things. You constantly have to search for new things that transform who you are. Try everything, even if it's as weird as synchronized swimming. Even if it doesn't make sense to you, and even if you can't see it fitting into your future. Because the reality is you don't know what your life will look like in a year, and that one new thing may be the perfect thing for that future. But part of knowing who you are is knowing what your passions are, and you can't know what those passions are without exploring. You constantly have to, there we go. After I stopped swimming, I had a personal struggle of letting go of something that I had worked for 10 years in. And one day, the perfect opportunity was presented to me. A woman named Tina Bowles asked me if I'd be interested in coaching her disabled daughter. And I thought, I'm not qualified. I've never coached long-term, and I have no idea how to coach a disabled athlete. And I really didn't know what to expect. But I decided to try it anyways, even though it scared me. And I began coaching Raquel, her daughter, and her other coaches and I began preparing her for the national competition in Canada. And I was daunted because we were going up against a country with an infrastructure to support their athletes and coaches with years of experience. But we kept at it day after day, and that year Raquel came home with 2 gold medals. It's been 2 years since then, and I've become involved with a group called Synchronized Swimming Athletes with Disabilities, whose goal it is to make synchronized swimming the next Paralympic sport. And I could have never imagined the places I would go and the awe-inspiring people that I would meet. I have never felt so much pride and so much inspiration than when I was working with Raquel and the other disabled athletes at the Taiwan Aquatics exhibition, where 7 countries came with their disabled athletes or came to support their disabled athletes. I'm overjoyed that my experiences can even be a fraction of creating opportunities for deserving competitors. These are just a couple pictures, some of the people. And the third step is to fight for your passions. When I was growing up, I was told that I could be three things: a lawyer, an engineer, or a doctor. And I was told these things because my dad immigrated from Bangladesh, and he had to give up his dreams to come to the US. And when I was an athlete working towards the Olympics, he didn't see my path and he didn't see my future. It was a constant struggle to express to him why it was a necessity to me. And when I stopped swimming, he was very hopeful that I would become one of those three things. But I ended up falling in love with fashion design instead. And it's still a struggle every day to get him to see my path. It's 1 a.m. arguments and hours of explanation. And one thing you should know about my father is that he does startups, and he's working on a project called Yaxi. Yaxi is a global interactive broadcasting station. And it took me showing him that it was passion that allowed him to work 5 years on Yaxi without funding and without breaks, that I owed it to myself to have that same kind of passion. And I'm so thankful that I have parents who listen to me and allow themselves to change because of me. Because without that, I wouldn't be on my path to changing the world. Defending your passions is probably one of the hardest things that you will ever have to do. Because society might tell you that it's not important, your family and mentors might tell you that it's not feasible, and you will even doubt yourself. But you have to have the courage and the confidence to do it anyways. Don't give up just because nobody can recognize your unique genius or see your path. Because nobody will believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. And the fourth step is respecting your ideas. The first time I traveled to Bangladesh, I was overwhelmed and miserable. As a person from Los Gatos, going to a place where there are people living on the streets, begging for money, and piles of garbage burning on the street next to you, I was surprised and upset. And it made me want to retreat back to the comfort of my home and of my town. But then I thought, everything that I am is this country. Half of everything that I will ever become is this country. And it made me want to help. It made me want to make it so that everyone else could see how great this country and these people were. And so I started talking. I talked to my sister. I was asking her, what can I as a teenager do? What can we do to change the situation? I can't solve infrastructural problems or end poverty. What can I do? And that's when I realized that the one thing I've been doing most of my life is speaking English, and that I could teach English. And that's how the idea for the Language Outreach Club was born. We all have good ideas every day, and a lot of them could actually work. So respect those ideas. Don't shut them down before they begin. Take those ideas to action. Brainstorm, talk about them, write them down. Do something that will let your ideas grow, and I assure you that something will come of it. And the fifth step is making your ideas real. When I was in Bangladesh for the first time, I attended a party. And people were asking me what I thought of the country and how my first trip was, and those cultural and structural differences were still overwhelming me. So I opted to talk about my ideas, and I opted to talk about the Language Outreach Club. And one of the people I ended up talking to runs her own NGO called the Sajida Foundation. And the Sajida Foundation is dedicated to providing educational and other opportunities to the exact people that I wanted to touch. And that's how the Language Outreach Club went from an idea into part of an organization. And these methods are so simple. And it doesn't have to be a big problem that you want to attack. For example, this year, I'm doing an independent study class in fashion design and merchandising. And part of that class is to do an internship. When I got the list of places that I could intern, I read through them, and I thought, I don't want to work at any of these places. You know, I want to learn about design and selling your design and manufacturing your design. So I went out and I found a place that did that. And then I looked through my contacts and went through my network and found that one of my old coaches had had a dress made there. So I called her up and I said, can you give me an intro? So I printed out my resume and I walked into that store and I said, hi, I'm Leilah Talukder. I want to do an internship here. What do I do to make it happen? And I got that internship, and that internship turned into a job. And simply by nature of talking to people, attending lectures, and going to events, I could see the fashion world open up in front of me, and so many other worlds open up in front of me. So make your ideas real. Tell people about them and look for contacts. Take real steps from changing your idea to reality. There are all kinds of people around you that can help. Talk to your friends, talk to your parents, talk to your coworkers, and talk to the TED Talk presenters today. Because if you have confidence that your ideas are important, they will want to help you. And the last step is to reward yourself. There is no step in changing the world that is too small. The Language Outreach Club is not the entire solution to global and accessible education, but it is a brick in the road. And the unique experiences that I have co-founding, creating, and running LOC have gone back into my arsenal of experiences that will shape who I am and what my future ideas become. And you have to allow those experiences to change you. I want to make the world where disabled athletes can compete a reality. And I want education to be a birthright. And all it takes is vision. I have a vision for the future of LOC. I want to learn Mandarin from a real Chinese student, and I want to learn how to make pizza from an Italian student. I want to learn from people like me. I want every high school to be connected through LOC, to spread cultural connection and global education. And I found a way to achieve that using my dad's startup, Yaxi. And it's my vision that has taken me to places where I could actually change the world. This past summer, I was part of a team that presented my ideas for the Language Outreach Club and the importance of Yaxi to Sir Abid, the founder of BRAC, the world's largest NGO, and to Nobel laureate Dr. Yunus, and to the entire government of Bangladesh. When we get down to it, it's simple. All you have to do is figure out what you want, have the guts to take it, and keep working until it happens. Small steps taken today can grow beyond your dreams tomorrow. So please strive to change the world, because you will have impact that you cannot even imagine. Thank you.